Right at the end, the automotive industry steps up, hires more people, and boom, we start taking off again.
Right, and there's
We
that
don't-
bonus in February or whatever, and then that person goes out and spends that money, and
But we don't have an automotive industry anymore.
right,
Just like we don't have the steel industry
Right.
like we used to.
yeah,
Clothing industry. Slowly but surely, we're not going to have anything left. If we keep these elected officials in D.C. doing what they're doing, what are we going to have? I mean, I think the stat right now is 80% service. You
Right.
can't survive on that. You have to manufacture. And slowly but surely, it's being taken away from us. And we're building up all these other economies.
Talk to me about the trade-free zone in particular. We're right now used to, obviously, strike that, not trade-free, but the tax-free zones you were
Right.
talking about. You know, we're used to getting taxes from various sources. If you make it tax-free, how do you replace that, and how does that affect the economy or that area in the short run?
Well, number one, it'll be federal tax free.
Okay.
So
okay.
you still have your state and local taxes.
Okay, so
your
the
property
city
taxes,
and
the
the
city will
county
still be
and
bringing
everything.
in money.
Okay.
But on a higher level now, because now you have all these people moving back to the city, building new homes. Property
Okay.
values are going to go up, and then it'll have a ripple effect. But getting to the automotive industry, with those federal tax-free zones, you're going to have businesses that are going to be moving in that have to pay taxes.
Right.
I mean, maybe not withholding, but they're still going to have to be paying taxes.
Yeah.
Which is going to do nothing but create more revenue. So that, I mean, that's something we really need to investigate, because I think it could work.
Well, and you look at it, and businesses are closing down or moving out. So
Right.
clearly, the trend is not. I mean, you do read articles, and there are positive stories, and
Sure.
thank goodness for that. But you know, we need them. We need them obviously in greater numbers, and it seems like
Because it seems like we're getting hundreds of jobs here and hundreds
Mm-hmm.
of jobs there, where we need hundreds of thousands of jobs.
Right.
And that's what our lawmakers need to look at and understand.
Well, let's talk about education. I guess would be another huge point for anybody running for office. I know the current Congresswoman Carolyn Cheeks Kilpatrick has a background in education,
Right.
and that's one of the things she touts about her strengths there. What do you see for education, and how do you think things need to be changed, particularly in this district, which has a rough, in Detroit particularly, has had a tough time with the DPS?
Well, number one, you got to get rid of corruption. I mean, we know it's there, it's existing, it's existed for years. Unfortunately, we don't wake up until we see $54 million missing.
Right.
When $100 is missing is when we should be waking up, not when $54 million. So I think that really has to be addressed, and I think they're addressing that now.
Yeah, I think there's some good leaders
Yes.
down there, and that's a great thing. And it's got to be difficult to change the culture there, where there had been a great deal of corruption.
Exactly, but I think down, especially in the city of Detroit, you have to give it back to the parents.
Okay.
You have to let the parents make the decision of what school they're going to.
Okay.
Not what district, because I'm sure you have to stay within your districts.
But school of choice?
But
so to
school of
speak?
choice, basically.
Okay.
So instead of giving the federal government giving the Department of Public Schools the $7,700, I think that's the average price
Per pupil.
give it to the parent as a voucher, and let them decide where their child is going to be educated, whether it be at home,
Okay.
or whether it be at a private school, or whether it be at a public school.
So choice would be wide open.
Right.
Charter school, private school, home ed education, or that perhaps the public school that's right down there.
Right.
Now, okay.
Now, with that being said,
Right.
the public schools are going to have to compete.
And that's what I was going to say.
And that's gonna make them better.
In the short term, the public school is going to empty out. I think if you truly gave the parent that choice, and I'm seeing this public school where we're graduating 23%, and I see this charter school that's graduating 75%, and seems to be kind of fresh and some good new young teachers. and,
Exactly.
hey, let's try that out. It seems like it'd be the death knell for the public school. But like you said, maybe it just raises the level of competition, and
Well-
I mean that's the dream.
Right. Yes, unfortunately, it would probably hit the public school system pretty hard.
I would think.
But it seems to me, as an outsider, a man with common sense, everything the government touches costs money.
Sure.
Nothing's profitable, and now it's even into our schools. I mean, really, look at the percentages you just brought up.
Yeah.
The private sector is doing a better job than the public because they have incentives to make it a profitable company. The government doesn't.
Do you think that more things, more industries should be privatized because of that?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yes.
Across the board.
Across the board. I mean, we have so many, right now, there's more public jobs in the state of Michigan for the first time in history than manufacturing jobs.
So more people working in
The
for
government.
in some fashion
Right.
than
Than in manufacturing.
and it had to be dwarfed the other way, I imagine,
Oh,
in
definitely.
the 50s and 60s.
Well, look at General Motors, and I'm not talking probably within 10 years. They used to have 350,000 employees. What are they down to today? 50?
Yeah, it's a whole new world.
You can't allow our government to do what they're doing to the private sector, thinking that government jobs are going to pay. How are you going to pay for government jobs if nobody's paying taxes?
Right, you need the taxes, yeah. You definitely need the taxes to support that. What about, let's talk about public safety, because that's one area where funding is always important. It's a very expensive area. It's perhaps one of the most important areas. In the points, I know we have a fantastic police and fire.
Yes, we do.
A group of police and fire departments, and that's one of the reasons we live here.
Right.
Let's talk about that kind of that part of the whole living in this community and how you see that changing or not changing.
Well, what I see the elected officials, especially in the city of Detroit, first thing they want to do is cut police, fire, EMS.
And I would say, I'm guessing the reason that might be a starting point is everybody's in a budget crisis.
Right.
Everybody needs to cut costs. Hey, here's a big line item on my budget. Can I do something? Can I tweak that?
No, you can't. I mean, unless you're turning the lights off in the city of Detroit, you can't afford to cut one police officer. I mean, they just got rid of the gang riots, or the special units for gangs.
Okay.
They just cut them in half. And at the same time, they put all these gangs together in the same schools. So what's that creating? What type of environment is that creating? So when I look at police, fire, EMS, those are the last things you cut.
How do you fund them? How do you fund them though? If the you're getting less tax revenue, which is
because
very
people are
common.
moving out of the city.
Okay.
If you go with my plan, the 10-year tax-free zone, you're going to have people moving back, and they're going to have an abundance of money in the city of Detroit. We just got to keep them held feet to the ground that they're not spending it in the wrong ways.
Okay.
And like I say, police, fire, and EMS are the last things that need to be cut. We expect our GM, Ford, and Chrysler, instead of having one job now as an executive, you have 4 jobs. Well, I think our government officials should be doing the same, identical jobs as what we're asking the private sector to do.
Do you see the size of the federal government in particular as being the right size, too big, too small? How do you see that?
Too large.
Okay.
I would say you would have to cut at least 20% across the board, and not just in jobs, but you would have to cut 20% of all salaries. And take that 20%, because I know we have a problem with Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, but why are we hurting our seniors right now? You take that 20% from the federal employees and you put it over here and give the seniors a raise.
And that would not be popular amongst any of our viewers who are currently working for the federal government.
Probably not.
But you do see that in the private sector. I'm
Right.
sorry. I mean, you're seeing people take
There's
not
nobody-
getting big
right.
raises in December, but rather staying
cut.
steady, or a 10%
Right.
cut, or
Right.
hey, everybody's got to tighten their belt to keep this business running, or we got to start, laying people off.
Exactly. I mean, look at last year. The federal government give themselves a raise. I don't know of anybody in the private sector that got a raise.
Yeah.
Do you?
Well,
if it is, it's rare.
yeah, it's
So,
not
I mean, we
usual.
really need to take a look at how our government's taking care of themselves and not taking care of us.
Let's talk about, where we live here. We're very blessed with the water that we have. The lake and the Detroit River are really dynamic waterways.
Oh.
I mean, we take it for granted because you
Right.
see it every day as
Right.
you're driving down Lakeshore. But in reality, we're very lucky to be in this area. Do you think that's something that could be leveraged or used to help us going forward?
Well, the first thing in the city of Detroit, the problem they have not utilizing the waterway.
And that is a sad thing, especially, and I know like me, you go to Chicago or New York and you see these other cities with there's just such a jewel, and it seems like it'd be an ideal place for housing, bars, restaurants, entertainment, and
Right.
all kinds